there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a book review for The Island of Doctor Moreau by H.G. Wells. But before I go ahead and get on into the book review, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as well as giving this video a like to throw my channel a little bit of support. The way that I structure my book reviews is I discuss the plot of the book, the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like, and then I give the book a rating. So if you're interested in just skipping to any one of those particular sections, check the timestamps down below. The Island of Doctor Moreau is a classic science fiction novel that was originally published in 1896. It follows a main character called Edward Prendick, and he is shipwrecked on this remote island. Once upon this island, Prendick finds that it is the home to the infamous Dr. Moreau, who is a scientist/surgeon who is conducting all of these cruel and unethical experiments, combining humans with animals to create these ghastly hybrids. There is also another human character on this island known as Montgomery, who serves kind of like Dr. Moreau's assistant. As the story progresses, Prendick finds himself learning more about these human-animal hybrids, as well as the societal order that Dr. Moreau has set up on this island for these individuals, and Prendick is witness to how the societal order breaks down. The themes and stories in this book surround ethics with regards to scientific experimentation, human and animal experimentation, the consequences of unchecked scientific experimentation, as well as the line between human nature and our primitive animalistic behaviors. Going on to the things that I liked about this book, one of the things that I've always liked about H.G. Wells is his foresight. I feel like for a book that was written in the late 1800s, this book and the ideas that it explores is still relevant today. In this book, we have Dr. Moreau, who is literally taking humans and animals and combining these into these new species. He is trying to create life, or at least modify life. And if we take a look at today, we do see that our scientists are doing similar things. If we look at human experimentation, animal experimentation and or animal testing, cloning, all of that. Scientists, over 100 years after this book was published, is still dabbling in those fields. And this is where the theme of the moral ethics with regards to science experimentation come into play, because Dr. Moreau was completely unchecked in what he was able to do, and he was showing cruelty and savagery towards these animals that he was mutilating. And if we fast forward 40, 50 years, and we see what happened in World War II, where we have scientists that, yeah, they discovered really, really relevant things for the human race at the expense of lives, which, like I said, led to the creation of the Nuremberg Code. So the theme of the ethics and morality that is surrounding human experimentation is still relevant even today. Another thing that really gripped me was H.G. Wells was, in my opinion, attempting to show the very fine line between human nature and animal nature. The hybrid creatures blur the boundary between these two, because at times they act human, but they also at times still act very animalistic. And Dr. Moreau tried to establish these laws for these animals to abide by that kind of mirror what a successful society should look like with regards to behaviors. And we see that as the story progresses, these laws completely break down. And by the end of the book, the animal natures of all of these hybrids had taken over the human natures. And then what really got me was when Prendick goes back to London, and he has so much trauma that he doesn't even feel like he can connect with normal society anymore after having seen what he'd seen and lived with the hybrid people for so long. And he really struggles to fit back into normal human society. He becomes almost a recluse. He doesn't want to be around people. I'm not saying this is the same as our animal nature, but it was almost like his experiences changed what was human about him, didn't make him animalistic, but changed something inherently human about him so that he was unable to function within a normal society any longer after being on the island and living with the hybrid people. So that ending and just what Prendick was talking about to the reader just really stuck with me. As for the things that I didn't like, one of the themes of this book surrounds cruelty and suffering, and we see that, and I didn't like it, because there is a puma that gets taken to this island, was on the same ship as Prendick when it sank and he found his way on the island. And there are descriptions, they're not graphic, but The main character hears like the puma just wailing and in pain, and the main character realizes that vivisections are going on, and then Dr. Moreau kind of talks about what he's doing by literally mutilating these poor animals and people, and Prendick becomes scared for his own life that he is going to become one of these hybrid people. So yes, one of the themes is cruelty and suffering, but for me as the reader, that's not something that I find enjoyable to read about. That's one of the reasons I had to put the book down, because all of these animals were being tortured, and it was hard for me to read. I also wasn't a huge fan of when Prendick had to go live with the beast people towards the end of the book. And I think the whole book in general was a bit unsettling. This is a sci-fi book, but it definitely has elements of horror. The way that the author described the human beast hybrid or different type of animal hybrid, like, it was very unsettling. And I feel like this is where the elements of horror come in, trying to imagine in my head a wolf and a person mixed into this new being, or a pig and a person mixed into this new being. It was very unsettling. And when Prendick had to go live with them, just the way that they operated, you could tell that they were not intelligent to the point of what we consider average intelligence, and they were acting like animals, but with a hint of humanity, and it was utterly terrifying. And then that entire framework breaks down, and the beasts revert to beasts that they are. And it just wasn't an enjoyable read. It was interesting, but it was also unsettling. All in all, The Island of Dr. Moreau, in my personal opinion, is incredibly well written. It really explores a lot of deep, interesting themes, such as the ethics and morals surrounding scientific research, human nature versus our more primitive animalistic urges. It addresses unchecked power, the abuse of power. It addresses so many themes that are still relevant today. But is this an enjoyable story? For me, it wasn't an enjoyable story. I'm super glad that it was really short. It was about 130 pages, because if this was a long book, I just probably wouldn't get through it. And it has nothing to do with how intelligently it's written or anything like that. I personally just didn't connect with the story. I didn't connect with the beast people, Dr. Moreau and his mindset, Prendick's experiences, even though I'm glad that the story was told from an outsider's point of view. It would have been interesting from Dr. Moreau's point of view as well. So the whole thing, just for me, was not an enjoyable read. And that is entirely subjective. I think this is just me and my tastes and reading. So in the end, I'm going to give The Island of Dr. Moreau a 3 out of 5 stars. I would recommend it if you are someone that enjoys H.G. Wells' works or classic sci-fi, but if you're someone who wants to go in for like a light, fun read, I definitely wouldn't suggest this. All right, you guys, that is it for my book review of The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. Let me know in the comments if you've read this book and what you thought of it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in another video soon. Goodbye!